All right, guys, it is 9 o'clock. Good morning. I hope you guys are doing well this Tuesday. It looks like we have a lot of students missing. So just remember, all of these class videos are posted to YouTube in case you guys want to go back and review, or if you have questions in doing that. A couple announcements, and I'll do these again at the end of class. The end of the trimester is next Friday. So make sure if you guys have missing assignments to get those done. We have less than a week left. Well, a little over a week, sorry, about a week and a half left. So we're gonna have this lesson and then one more lesson. So this is our second to last lesson. We're gonna have a review for the final, and then you guys will have the final. So just a couple of quick points, and I'll remind you guys of this again. Your final will be available right after class on the 9th. And then your guys are going to have until the end of the day, Thursday, to work on that. So you'll have Wednesday where we have no classes, and then you'll have Thursday to work on it as well. All missing assignments are going to be due next Thursday because Friday's not a school day. So Friday I have to get all your grading done. And so, yeah, all missing assignments are due next Thursday. Okay. All right. So with that said, and your last assignment, right, is going to be this Friday due next Tuesday. Okay, so you only have 2 more assignments after today. Okay, so let's go over this. So we're going to continue with our triangle theme. So today we're going to talk about congruent triangles, and then we're going to go from there. Okay. All right. So first thing I'm going to do, we're going to go over this little warm-up. So yesterday we talked about classifying triangles, and we talked about finding missing angles using, we talked about the triangle sum theory. Okay, so for this first one, remember that triangles are going to have 2 names. So this one, it looks like I have an angle that is greater than 90. So this would be obtuse. And then none of the sides are labeled the same. So this would be an obtuse scalene. Okay, so again, we have 2 angle names here. 2 triangle names here. This is its angle name, and this is its side name. Okay, and remember, guys, right? All of our homeworks and our tests are going to be open note, so make sure you guys are taking good notes on that as well. Okay. Then when we go here, so finding the missing angles, there was problems just like this on your homework, right? So the first thing I'm going to take a look at, if I take a look at angle 1. Right, is that all of these are going to add to 180. So this is the triangle sum theorem that we talked about last class. So to do this, I'm going to go angle, I'm going to do 30 degrees plus 40 degrees plus angle 1 equals 180 degrees. Because remember last class we talked about all the angles in a triangle on a 2-dimensional triangle are going to add up to 180. We combine like terms, so 30 plus 40 is 70. Okay, and then our last step here is we're just going to go ahead and subtract 70 from both sides. So we get angle 1 equals 110. So this picture is not really drawn to scale, is it? But that's okay, because remember, the picture isn't supposed to be accurate. Our numbers are supposed to be accurate, and we're using the picture as a way to understand what's going on. So that's what I did here. So I just did triangle sum theorem. They add up to 180. Okay. Then when we get to angle 2, hopefully you guys see the x, right? So the x means that these are vertical angles. Okay. And for those of you who are Spanish speaking, or French speaking, I did use green for that vertical angles. All right. All right. And then, so what would we do here? So that just means if they're vertical angles, they're going to be the same. So that means angle 2 is also going to be 110 degrees. Okay. So I used vertical angles there. And then, so now that we know angle 1 and angle 2, I can go ahead here, and I know this is another triangle sum theorem. So that's going to be 50 degrees, and then angle 2 is 110, plus angle 3 equals 180 degrees. So again, the 50 is given in this triangle. The 110 is from angle 2 that we found. And then the angle 3 is down here. So I combine like terms. Oops, I'm going to use black. So 50 plus 110 is 160. And then I'm going to go ahead and get that angle 3 by itself. So I'm going to subtract 160 from both sides. So I get angle 3 equals, and that's a 20 difference, so it's going to be 20 degrees. Okay. So then the last one here that we have to look at is 3 and 4. So we have to remember this is on a line, and the number of degrees on a line is 180. So this is a linear pair. Okay. So if that's a linear pair, then I know angle 3, which is 20 degrees, plus angle 4 equals 180 degrees, right? Because it's a linear pair, which means that this is a line and that the angle for a line is 180 degrees. So it's a shortcut for angle addition, right? So I know this angle is 180, so angle 3 plus angle 4 is 180. So I'm just going to go and subtract 20 degrees from both sides, and I get angle 4 equals 160 degrees, like that. All right, so maybe not totally drawn to scale, right, with those inside angles being 110, but that's the kind of what we're doing. So this kind of brings everything that we've done, right? So we have the triangle sum theorem with adding. We had vertical angles, and we had linear pairs. So basically everything that doesn't require parallel lines, right? So vertical angles, linear pair, triangle sum theorem. So this is a great example, again, of all the angle relationships that we have that don't have to do with parallel lines. Okay? Does anybody have questions about that, or have any comments or anything that we want to talk about? Any questions? You guys doing okay? Right, so this is the stuff that we did last class. If you were struggling on the homework, right, these were the kind of problems that were on the homework. So if you guys need to go back and finish that up, you can. Now that I have a lot more people here, I'm just going to repeat. Thank you for responding. I appreciate that. I'm just going to repeat a bunch of things. So remember, the end of the trimester is next Friday. So you guys need to get all of your missing assignments in by Thursday at midnight. Okay, so that's the last that you guys can turn in missing assignments is Thursday by midnight, because Friday's the day where I'm going to be grading your finals. So your final is going to be posted at the end of class on Tuesday. So that's the 9th. So that means you're going to have the rest of the day on the 9th. You're going to have all of the 10th, which is no classes, to work on your final. And then you're going to have until Thursday at midnight to do that. So you guys are going to get 2.5 days to work on your final exam. Okay? All right. So you only have 2 assignments left. That's today's and next classes. Okay? All right. So just wanted to make sure you guys know that. Make sure you guys get any missing assignments done. And also remember, I have office hours every morning except for Wednesday. And you guys can come in and we can get assignments done there. Okay? So today we are doing 5.2, and we're going to be talking about triangle congruence. Okay, so triangle congruence. Ooh, my R there doesn't look super great, does it? Okay, so we're going to do triangle congruence. So let's, to take notes with this, we should really just hit a whole bunch of points here before we start and dive in and doing this. So remember, congruent, what does congruent mean? It means same shape, same size. Okay, so congruent means same shape, same size. So what we're talking about, if we have congruent triangles is where it's the same type of triangle and it's going to be the same size. So that means all of the sides and angles are the same. Okay, so I'm just going to make a little note here, right? That means all sides and angles have same value. Right? So when I say same size, I'm saying all the sides and angles are going to have the same value, right? So if you have a triangle that has lengths 2, 3, 4, then the other congruent triangle needs to have lengths 2, 3, and 4. Now, congruent triangles are super important, especially when building, right? When you're building something and you want things to be symmetric or to look the same, triangles are the easiest way because it's the easiest shape to measure and do. Okay, so we're going to have shape and size there. Okay, so that's what it means to be congruent. Okay, the next thing is, and you guys can type this into the chat, how many parts does a triangle have? Does one triangle have? So how many parts does one triangle have? And just type it into chat. All right. So I'm getting a lot of answers. So no one's got it correct. So I'm going to try a different approach. How many angles are in a triangle? Can you guys type that in? How many angles? Okay, so there's 3 angles. Okay, so if there's 3 angles, how many sides are there? How many sides does a triangle have? A triangle has 6 sides. So how many sides does a triangle have? Guys, there's 33 students. I should be getting flooding with answers. There we go. Come on, guys. It's not too early to open up chat and type a number. Okay. All right. So if there's 3 angles and 3 sides, and I think this is what the person was getting to earlier, how many parts are there in a triangle then? If there's 3 angles and 3 sides. There we go. There we go. So there are 6 parts. To any triangle. Okay? There are 6 parts to any triangle, right? There are 3 sides and there are 3 angles. Okay? So when we're talking about congruent, we're talking about same shape, same size. All sides and angles have the same value, and there are 3 sides and there are 3 angles. Okay, so 6 parts to a triangle. And then this next part I'm going to put in red. So 2 triangles are congruent when all 6 corresponding parts are congruent. Okay, so 2 triangles are congruent only when all 6 corresponding parts are congruent. Okay, and you guys should recognize one of those words, right? So 2 triangles are congruent when all 6 corresponding parts are congruent. Okay, so it doesn't just help that like you have the same numbers, they need to correspond together, right? If you're building something, you're like, well, this has the same angles of that, but if the angles are in the wrong place, then that's not good, right? You don't want to build something that's the same but upside down, right? So corresponding parts are congruent. Okay, and that's what we're really gonna focus on today, is not only showing that triangles are congruent, but if triangles are congruent, how can we find the corresponding parts? Okay, so remember, corresponding means same place, right? Same place, different city. Okay, so in this case, it's going to be the same angle, but in a different triangle. Okay, so 2 triangles are congruent when all 6 corresponding parts are congruent. Now, we're going to have, so right here, this is kind of are just our basic notes. So triangle congruence. Okay, this is what congruent means. There's 6 parts. This is the definition. Okay, so let's close up shop there. Okay, so this is kind of our little review summary of what that means. So now we're gonna have all sorts of new things. Okay, so I'm going to first introduce this without a picture, because I think, and believe it or not, I actually think pictures in this case mess students up, which is weird, right? Because usually pictures help. So what we're going to talk about is a congruency statement. And I'm double checking, yes, that the book actually calls it this. Okay, so the congruent statement, they call it the congruent statement. This is your friend, okay? So we're going to start with a congruent statement. And this is basically a statement saying that they're the same. Okay, that's what a congruency statement is, the statement that they're the same. So if I have, so a congruency statement, okay, the number one thing that here is that order matters. Order matters. And what I mean by this is the corresponding first letters go together. Corresponding, what do I want to say? Corresponding letters go together. And I'm going to do an example of this. Okay, so corresponding letters go together. So let's do an example. And we're going to do a bunch of examples of this. Okay, let's say I have triangle BAT is congruent to triangle GRL. Okay, that's an R. I know my R's need some work. All right, so I have triangle BAT is congruent to triangle GRL. Okay, so this is a congruency statement. Or the book calls it a congruence statement, right? It's a statement saying two triangles are the same. Okay, so I got triangle BAT is congruent to triangle GRL. Now, we're not going to do this with every problem. I'm just doing this to show you what's going on. Notice how in this first triangle, the B comes first, the A comes second, and the T comes third. Okay, that means in the second one, this comes first, this comes second, and this comes third. So when I say corresponding letters go together, well, if B is the first one, G is also the first one. So we would say they correspond, or we would say they are in the same position in different triangles. So the order matters in our congruency statement. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to list all corresponding congruent. I'm just going to do that to save time. List all corresponding congruent parts. And remember, that's 6. Okay, so given this congruency statement, we're going to list all corresponding congruent parts. So over here, I'm going to make a little column. So I'm going to do, we're going to do angles and we're going to do sides. Okay. And I'm trying to go nice and slow. If I'm going too fast, please let me know. I want you guys to make sure you can get this, and I also want to make sure I give you guys time if you want to ask questions. Okay, it turns out it's really easy to do this. You're like, well, how am I going to do this without a picture? Because the order matters and corresponding letters go together. So for example, B is the first, so G is the first. So my angles, I know that angle B is going to be congruent to angle G, because angle B is in the same location as angle G in the congruency statement, in the congruent statement. Okay. So then in chat, can you guys help me out? What would angle A be congruent to? And I should be getting a lot more responses. And so we can do this, guys. I need you to participate. The more you participate, the more likely you are you're going to learn. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Oh, yeah. They're coming in hot. They're coming in hot now. You guys are killing it, right? So, again, angle A is the second. So, angle R is the second in the other shape. Thank you, guys. You guys are rocking it. So, I bet at this point, you guys already have the third one, right? Right? The third letter is T. And the third letter is L. Wow. So like this is pretty straightforward, right? As long as my congruency statement is written correctly, then I don't need a picture, right? And this is where pictures can actually make things more confusing, right? All I need to be able to do is just look at this and be like, the first letter goes with the first letter, right? They correspond. The first corresponds with the first, the second corresponds with the second, okay? And that's why order matters. So if we were going to write a congruency statement, it's really important that we get our order correct. Okay. Now, there's lots of different ways to write this, but all that matters is that the B goes with the G, the A goes with the R, and the T goes with the L. Right? Right? The B doesn't have to be first. The B could be second, but then the G would have to be second. Now, the sides gets a little bit more complicated. So remember, we need 2 letters for sides, right? We need 2 letters for sides. So to do this, I'm just going to group and say, hey, I'm going to do my first 2. So if I say segment BA, okay, so the corresponding still works. So BA is 1 and 2. So I know that this side is going to be congruent to side 1 and 2. So I would write GR. Okay, so I know that segment BA is going to be congruent to segment GR because BA is 1, 2, and GR is 1, 2. All right, so I bet you guys could get this next one. So if I did 1, 2, now let's try 2, 3. So I have AT, segment AT, and then in chat, what would segment AT be congruent to? Oh my gosh, you guys are on top of it now. You're like, boom, getting it done. Ballers. Yeah, and I know, guys, that we can't get the little hat in chat, but just remember to do the hat when you're writing. Oh, yes. Oh my gosh, guys. So you're basically telling me that, like, come on, Craft, we got this. Okay, all right. So I got RL. And why is it RL? So AT was 2 and 3. So then over here, 2 and 3 is R and L. Okay, now with all the sides, basically what we're doing is we just have to make sure we have all the combinations, right? So we had 1 and 2, so that's not different than 2 and 1. Then we have 2 and 3. So what are the only 2 letters we haven't put together yet? Right? We put B and A together, we put A and T together. What's the last combination? Yeah. Now, and what I love about the responses is that there's actually 2 ways to write it. So a lot of people are saying T and B. But couldn't we also say B and T? It doesn't matter. BT and TB are the same. So if I write BT like this, the only difference is, okay, so BT would be 1 and 3. So I would write G and L. But if you wrote TB, right? Well, TB is 3 and 1. So then I would have to say 3 and 1, right? These 2 are the same thing. So there's more than one way to write these answers. Notice how all that matters is that they're corresponding, right? So if B comes second, G comes second, right? If T comes second, L comes second, okay? So what matters is when you write these, that the letters are corresponding, okay? So it doesn't, see, that's why I don't normally write 1, 2, and 3 up here, is because it doesn't matter what position in. All it matters is that they are corresponding, okay? So we're going to try one more of these and see how you guys do. So you guys are going to do this on your own, okay? So I'm going to give you a congruency statement, and you're going to list all the corresponding congruent parts. Okay. All right. So this is a try on your own. So here we go here. Try on your own. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and say triangle. Let's take a look at a different one. What do I want to do? Okay, so I want you to list all corresponding congruent parts. So I'm going to give you guys some time to do this. So give me a second. I'm going to get a little timer up. So I think this will take 2 minutes max. Okay, so let me put that timer up for you. So I want you to list all the corresponding congruent parts. Let's go. So there's going to be a list of, right, 3 corresponding congruent angles and 3 corresponding congruent sides. Oops, sorry. All right, hopefully you guys had a bit to take a look at this. So I find, from my personal experience, that finding the angles is the easiest one to start with. And I always like to start something with easy because it makes me feel good that I can do this, right? So if I start, right, I have angle B. Well, B is the first letter, so I know that's going to go with angle F. That's the second letter. And then I'm going to have angle A. That's the second letter. So that's going to go with the second letter in that. And then I have the third letter, right? That's going to go with the third letter. Okay, so again, it's corresponding parts within the congruency statement. Okay, now again, order doesn't matter. So if you put F on the left and B on the right, remember that's the symmetric property. So it doesn't matter what side of that they're on, right? So if you switch these, that's totally fine. Okay, I'm usually always going to go left to right though. Okay, so again, if you just switch them, again, that's just the symmetric property. You don't have to worry about that. Okay, so hopefully you guys are doing okay with this. Now the sides are a little bit more troubling for some people. So I always start with the first two. So if I have segment BA, so I know it's the first two. So it's going to go with the first two. So I'm going to have FR like that. And then I'm going to use a combination of all of them. So I'm going to do AD. And again, hey guys, I want you to know you can switch the direction. So I could have said AB, that's okay. It's just now I'm going to switch this one as well, right? So these two are the same for the first one, right? So instead of doing BA, I could do AB. I just have to go backwards when I'm here as well. Okay, you could do either one. So I did AD, so that's the middle and the last. So the middle and the last is going to be RG. But I also could have said DA, right? And then I just would have to switch this one as well. Because what's important here is that the A goes with the R. So if you put A second, then you have to put the R second, okay? So what matters the most is that they're corresponding. And then the last one, I can use BD with FG, or I could do DB with GF. Oops, my G was starting to look like a 6 there. Sorry about that, guys. All right, so how are you guys doing? Are we doing okay with that? This is going to be one of the pieces that's going to be on your homework, right? It's going to say, hey, given this statement, can you list all the corresponding congruent parts? Are we doing okay? You guys okay with that? All right. And remember, like I feel really good if you guys are getting it, and if you guys aren't getting it, I need to know that too, because that way I can we can go back and practice some more, and I can give you some more pointers. Okay? Because remember, this it's all about you guys here, right? I want to make sure you guys are doing well. And I don't know why there's an 11 there. I don't know where that came from. Okay. All right, so what we just practiced was, right, if we're given a congruency statement, then we're going to list all the comporting parts. The next thing we're going to talk about is how to write a congruency statement, or a congruence statement, as the book says it. Let me say what the book says. So now we're going to write a congruent statement. Okay. In fact, I'm just going to have you guys try this on your own. So I'm going to draw two triangles. So if you guys can get these two triangles down, and then as these triangles are drawn, this is an L down here. Sorry, I kind of looped back on it. That's an L. As you're writing this down, you can tell, like, from this, so there's 6 pieces to a triangle, and right now we don't know anything about those 6 pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to update this picture with some markings to show that they're congruent, because for these two triangles to be congruent, all 6 parts have to be corresponding and congruent, right? And that's what I'm trying to get at. That's what we're going to be working on second trimester. So to show triangles are congruent, all 6 parts have to be congruent. So to do this, I'm going to go ahead and do some angle markings. So I'm going to put a double angle here. I'm going to put a double angle here. I'm going to put a single marking, a double marking and a triple marking, and then a triple angle and a single angle. And then over here, I'm going to do single, triple, double, single, triple. Okay, and that's going to take a second to update. So take your time. Make sure you get all of those markings. I can't, not spelling. Once you get all those symbols down, I want you to write a congruence statement. Okay. Now remember, there's going to be different answers, right? All of our answers might look differently, but what's important is, do you have the corresponding letters lined up? And let me just give you a hint. Just start out writing one of the triangles. It doesn't matter the order. We can all use different orders, right? So you can write JKL, you can write JLK, you could write LJK, LKJ, right? There's lots of different ways. But what I would do is just start by writing one triangle down, and then when you go to write the second one, just make sure every letter corresponds with the picture. Okay, so start by writing one triangle down. It doesn't matter. You can start with the one on the right or the one on the left. I always start with the one on the left because that's how we read in English. Okay, so you get your first triangle down, and then make sure that the letters, right, the right letters correspond. So give it a try there. All right, so someone tell me what did you write down for your first triangle in chat? Just tell me, what letters did you use? Okay, so someone told me JKL. Now, if you didn't write JKL, that doesn't mean you're wrong. Hold on. I'll show you how to check your answer. So someone suggested to me JKL, so I'm just going to go with JKL, okay? Now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the picture. Notice how J has two arcs right here. So then I'm going to look, what has two arcs over here? T has two arcs. So if J goes first, T goes first. And to check your work, all you're going to have to make, wherever J is in the first one, T has to be in the same location in the second one. Okay, and I'll do an example of that in a little bit. Okay, and then K is the 1, 2, 3 arcs. So I look, okay, S goes with K. So if K is my second, S is my middle. And then my last one is L, and we're in a triangle. So I'm just going to double check though. L is the single, R is the single. It would go right here. Now again, that's not the only way we can write this. So does someone else want to put in chat with a different start that they used? So someone in chat, tell me a different start, and I'll do that one. Okay, so the first one that came in was K, J, L. Now, I don't even need to look at this, right? So what's important is, what does K go with? K goes with S. So if K is first, S goes first. Okay, what did J go with? J went with T. So J is second, T is second. L came last, it's still last, so it's still going to be R. Okay, so both of these are correct. Both are correct. Okay, and these aren't the only two that are correct, right? Like, there's more than this. So all that matters, and that's how you can check your work, is does J go with T? Yep, J goes with T. Does K go with S? Yep, K goes with S. And does L go with R? Okay, so that's all there is to it, guys. So if you're given a picture and you have to write a congruency statement, you just start by writing your first triangle, and then just make sure that the second triangle, all the letters are corresponding. Okay. Now, one thing I do want to add here, why are they congruent? Because all 6 corresponding parts are congruent. Okay, that's our reason, right? So if we're going to be doing proofs, right, because that's what's coming next trimester, is we're going to be proving triangles are congruent, then, right, our reason, right, in our proof would be all 6 corresponding parts are congruent. Now, if you're thinking like Kreft, there's no way we're going to do a proof where we have to do all 6. And I agree, that's too many, right? So we'll find a shorter way to do this next trimester. This is kind of just an intro. Okay. All right. So that's that piece. Okay. We got 2 more things I want to do today, and I'm running out of time. I have less than 10 minutes. Okay. So then we're going to use the congruency statement, the congruence statement, to find missing parts. So we're going to use the congruence statement to find missing parts. So what I mean by that, so I'm going to draw a picture, and you guys can draw this picture too. So I'm going to have D, E, F, G, and then I'm going to have Q, R, S, P. And don't worry about the shapes looking alike, guys. Okay. And then I'm going to have some angles. This is going to be 102 degrees, 84 degrees, 68 degrees. This is going to be 8 feet. This is going to be 12 feet. This is going to be 2x minus 4 feet. Okay, and this is going to be, I'm just going to make this 6y. So take a second, make sure you have all of that down. Don't worry about it looking super good, guys. It just has to work. Okay, and then the last thing I'm going to write down is this. D, E, F, G is congruent to S, P, Q, R. We don't have a cool symbol for that yet. We will second trimester when we talk about quadrilaterals, because it turns out these are trapezoids. Okay, so you have your information down, and you have a congruence statement. Okay, but notice how we have some things missing. We have an X and a Y. So we're going to solve for X and Y. Okay. So to do this, we're going to use our congruency statement. So what do you guys want to do first? Do you want to solve for X or Y first? Okay, we're going to solve for Y first. So notice how Y here is an angle, right? So I'm going to go solve for Y. Right? So to solve for Y, notice how angle Q equals 6Y. Okay, so angle Q equals 6y. So since these two shapes are congruent, right? It says they're congruent here. Then I know all corresponding parts are going to be congruent as well. So what I need to look at is, here's Q. What angle does Q correspond to in the other shape? And you guys can type that into chat. Angle Q corresponds with what over here? Press F for respects, right? So we know angle Q equals angle F, right? Because Q is here and that's there, right? So angle Q is going to be the same as F. Well, F is 68 degrees. So if I combine these, I get 68 degrees equals 6y. So to go ahead and solve this, I'm going to divide by 6. So I get 68 divided by 6. Oh, it's not a nice number. So I'm going to leave that as a fraction. So it's going to be 34/3. I don't think your answers on your homework are going to be ugly fractions, but mine was. Okay, so my calculator told me this was 34/3, and that's how you get y, which is approximately 11.3 degrees. Okay, so all I did here is we have a congruency statement. I want to find angle Q. Well, hey, check it out. Q corresponds to F, and F is 68. So this angle has to be 68 degrees. Now I'm going to hit pause there for a second. Are you guys doing okay with that? All right, thank you. Ooh, yeah, thumbs up. That looks really nice. Very nice, very nice. All right, cool. So now let's solve for x. Okay, so some things to note for solving with x. So when I solve for x, I notice that x is on segment QR. So segment QR equals 2x minus 4. Okay, so QR is the last two, right? The last two here. And the reason you have to use this, guys, because I bet a lot of you were like, oh, 2x minus 4 goes with 8 because they're both on the top. We can't do that, guys. You can't do that. You're going to use this. So QR is the last two. That goes with FG. So QR is congruent to segment FG. So if I put these together, FG is down here on the bottom. It's 12. Okay, so I'm going to get 2x minus 4 equals 12. Okay, because FG is 12. Are you guys okay with that? Right? So a very common mistake is that people go 2x minus 4 equals 8 because they're both on the top. Okay? We have to use the congruency statement. Have to use the congruency statement. So once you set up your equation, we're going to go ahead and solve. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. So I get 2x equals 16. I divide by 2. I get x equals 8. All right. Hey, I'm really bummed because I'm not going to get to have you guys practice that, and I'm not going to get to the proof that I wanted to do. But just really quickly, I want to give you guys a preview of what we're going to be doing next year, or next trimester, sorry. So next trimester, we're going to be given triangles, and we're going to prove that they're congruent, right? So if you look at this, we have a lot of information, but we don't have all the information. Do you guys remember reflexive? Reflexive property is something equals itself. I just wanted to show you this to remind you of the reflexive property. Look at segment AC. Segment AC is the same segment for both triangles. So wouldn't you say that segment AC is congruent to segment AC? And boom, you're saying that segment AC is the same for both triangles. So reflexive property is when something equals itself. And so this is an example of how we're going to use reflexive property. Segment AC is congruent to itself, and then that's going to allow us to prove the triangles are congruent because we have to show all 6 pieces are congruent. Okay, so I didn't get time to do that, but it's important to do a little review. Also, if 2 of the angles are the same, the third angle is going to be the same because they add up to 180, and we didn't have time to do that. So the idea that these angles add up to 180, these angles add up to 180, if these 2 are the same, then the third angle has to be the same. And so these triangles would be congruent. Don't have time to do that. So in the last minutes, I do want to just quickly remind everybody that all your missing assignments are due by next Thursday at midnight. We will have a final next week. You will have 2.5 days to do that. So you'll have the end of the day, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to do your final. Okay? So that is it. Have a great